Welcome. Okay, this might be part 1 or part 2. I'll try to lead with the better one. And I'm going to blast out this recording before I go to the post office. Here's a list of city and town halls that has been bundled for us. Sometimes you just search for something, and even if there isn't a showcase, the AI will put one together. I think that's what happened here. Anyway, this is a list of city and town halls. I was initially looking for state buildings, a rabbit hole I went down once, and by accident I found this one. And with as much time as we have, I'm going to try to share a bunch of these. Buenos Aires City Hall. Looks more like a hotel than a city hall. And here we have La Plata City Hall. Really cool features up here. And these are in Argentina so far. Again, a Argentinian city hall. And it actually looks kind of modest until you look at the people down here and you realize it's massive. And just like cathedrals, the 3 entryways, but this one was turned into a city hall. Lions on both sides. And we do see some stained glass here. Even some glass that's been painted. A whole bunch in Australia. This one is Grantsville, Australia. And this one, Leichhardt Town Hall. A suburb of Sydney, Australia. Just a little suburb. And here we go. Really a fine piece of work. Copper top, like Duracell. And this building was proclaimed. This is a new one. In 1871. I proclaimed this building. Here's one in Paddington, Australia. A bunch of clocks. And essentially the same columns. The same feel in Australia. Here's one in Petersham. Pretty modern looking style here. The foundation was laid in 1880. The building was completed in 18 fine months, including a library, a Masonic meeting room, a stage, really all the things you would want in a town hall, in the first town hall. The hall was demolished in 1937. Here's a look at that. Really nice. What good reason. Here's a town hall that looks just like a residence. It was proclaimed in 1860, somewhere in Sydney, Australia. Again, looking very residential. We see the tacky, modern window air conditioning units trying to cool this old world building. And then we could jump to other parts of Australia, Queensland. Here we go. Queensland. No doubt. They've put a red light up here. Really, really over the top. Literally. For a town hall. Especially in the time period we're told it was built. Here we see a picture of her in 1930. Taking up an entire city block, at least. Beautiful. And we'll end Australia with this town hall in Tasmania. Famous for the Tasmanian devil. A lot of windows, which I commend. Okay, let's move on. How about Bangladesh? Boom. Town hall, looking more like a hotel. Another Bangladesh town hall. Castle in ruins. And now let's move to Belgium. Belgium is awesome, and no doubt a stronghold of the old world. I mean, this stuff is superb, cathedral style for the town hall. Here we go. And in my last video, I think it was, we looked at a city hall in Texas, looking just as beautiful and castle-y. I once went to the city of Antwerp and was just kind of hit in the face with this old world It was such a beautiful, and is such a beautiful city. And we're told half of it was bombed out in the last Great War. And it was like every other building had been replaced with something modern. Just a seasoning of new and old. So yeah, this is the Antwerp City Hall. And here it is in 1609. Just looking the absolute freaking same. These primitive people. They don't even have horses. Oh, this guy has one. A working horse. Here's that same city hall we just looked at in Bangladesh. Look at this old weathered hotel. This baby needs a good power washing. Has for the last 100 years, no doubt. And yeah, it's their city hall now. Brussels, not far from Antwerp. And here's the City Hall, the Disneyland City Hall. Unbelievable. What do you think? Something else that's been turned into a city hall? Or do you really think that any city would design their halls of essentially business like this? Brussels Town Hall, erected between 1401 and 1455. Quite the erection. And there's just a bunch in Belgium. I'd like to look at all of them, but again, we are all on a time budget. But here you go. Here you absolutely go. Of course, this is exactly what I had in mind when I set out to look at city halls today. Here we go. What kind of people? What kind of purpose? I mean, no doubt this is teched out to the T. If you don't see tech here, and it's not religious, wow. Just wow. Really exciting. The Leuven Town Hall, built between 1439 and 1469. Why? Let's go to Bosnia. Sarajevo Town Hall. Here you go. The old world. Clearly here. Thriving. And the repurposing is probably running late in this area. We can see scaffolding down here. And recent wars. But here we see the same thing. Here we can see Croatia. Really beautiful old world in very dismal and ruined conditions. Ornamentation has been removed up here, clearly. And having a very cathedral feel, very Gothic, in Croatia. Croatia has excellent chocolate. And of course the Czech Republic. I mean, how can we not appreciate their town hall? Look at this thing. All metal up here. Tarnished copper. Just superb. Even with today's modern everything, I don't think builders can wrap their heads around this type of construction. And this is so old, we're told. But really, the dates may be scattered in all these narratives, but we're dealing with the same thing. How about France? Hotel de Ville. So here, finally, they're kind of being honest. The Hotel de Ville in Paris dates back to the 1300s. And it's a city hall, castle, palace, whatever. How about Finland? Turku City Hall. There we go. Built right up to the water and into the water. Pretty modest, but same hand. Here is somewhere in Germany. Wow. I can hear angelic choirs. And yet this is nothing angelic. This is just a city hall. And really in ruins. You can see the brick underneath the facading in here. That was the Bremen City Hall. An important example, they tell us, of brick Gothic. Yes, this is an important example for how excessive a city hall can be. Here we are in Cologne, home of cologne. It must smell really nice. Personally, I don't like cologne, kind of chemically. But anyway, City Hall. City halls abound. One more quickie in Germany. The Hamburg. And I don't eat ham, but in this research, ham is key. Look at this antenna. We're just not going to beat around the bush anymore. Nothing religious. It's not pointing to God. It's the City Hall in Hamburger, home of the hamburger. I'm not sure about that. The new town hall, another one in Germany, Hanover, and we must appreciate that this is the new town hall. Here we go. Come on. I've never seen any of these, really. This is kind of obscure. City and town halls. And we could do the same thing. Every single country is listed here. I've got a little more time. Let's see if we can get to some America. I just have to point out the obscurities. India. Here we are real quick in India. The Delhi Town Hall. Here another town hall in India. Come on. The window air conditioning units here in the front. Totally tacky. Inheritors would do such a thing. Real quick, Indonesia. How could we leave out Indo? Here we go. Mud flood windows. Very grand. Just seeming like a residence with a nice patio on the roof and perhaps a little greenhouse area to have coffee. But now a town hall. Indonesia. I guess the Netherlands has a Harlem, like New York. And in their Harlem, they have a city hall that looks like this. A beautiful brick, gingerbread-esque, super tech tower building. Super. The City Hall of Gouda. Gouda is a fine cheese and produces a fine city hall. There we go. Really cool. Skinny and long. New Zealand real quick. Little New Zealander on the corner. A lot of these buildings built to accommodate the ley lines or streets or canals. And that was New Zealand. Down under. Same stuff in the Philippines. Poland. Beautiful in Poland. Really beautiful in Poland. Okay, how about Portugal? Of course, Lisbon. The Lisbon City Hall. Have we ever seen the Lisbon City Hall? I mean, come on, what have they put in the window here? A blanket? Anyway, here's where you conduct your city affairs. Russia, of course. City Hall. Courtyard. The Marlinsky Palace in St. Petersburg. Built between 1839 and 1844. There we go. 5 years. 5 golden years in Russia, right here. Mid-1800s. And how about the Uke? I don't know if I can say the whole name in these times. The old Ukester. Home of the egg. Anyway, I hope this building is still standing. Here it is. Before WW blank. Here we go. So they had an early start here because already we see repurposement. They've made little shops at the bottom here. Kind of the model moving forward. And here we see the actual glory of this structure and how it was really just a palace or a residence or whatever, but eventually became a city building in this now ravaged area. And I think we'll have to do the United States in the next video. We'll just end with this one in Spain, City Hall. And I hope you've enjoyed our little tour. I find it very unifying. Okay, let's look at America, Part 2, City Halls. Here we go. Little Rock, Arkansas, City Hall. We have a date up here that looks like 907, and then we have a very, very feeble one. Seems to have come after the original 907, and we see this over and over. By now I look for it. How about the Beverly Hills, California City Hall? Here we go. No wonder California is broke. But really, in all fairness, no way, in my opinion, was this built as a city hall. What a beautiful work of art. And here as well, the entryway, very glorious. Looks like they've stuccoed fairly recently. Not even a good stucco job. For me this would be good, but I can see that it's actually pretty sloppy. They tell us in 1925, two-story building was erected. They weren't happy with that, so they built another one. And this is it. It was built in 1 year. 1 year. And really, worthy of a song. But there's thousands of buildings, we are told, have been built in a year. It still might be a good song. I'll hand it over to any of you. And here, even they're proud of their cupola, showing us a little close-up. Very, very American. Not. And a lot of them are pretty lame. I'm not going to show the lame ones. But ironically, the lame ones are the newer construction. All these old ones are the best. So here we go. What statues were removed from here? Always removing the statues. But just a mind blower. City Hall. Little slit windows up here for shooting arrows at protesters. And here we go. I don't dare to look at the history. Alright, the history. It was designed by a New York architect in 1910 after winning a design competition. I think people from Chicago and New York always won these competitions. Constructed in the Beaux-Arts style, of course. Resembles a rectangular wedding cake. And here she is in 1917. Just the same, but dirtier. Very, very dirty. When it was at its infancy, we are told. Look at this super tech up here, and nothing has changed. There we go. Oakland. Alright, one more in California. How about the San Francisco City Hall? Ah, of course. The City Hall must resemble the nation's capital. Plus some cathedral-esque ornamentation on top of the dome. This little top part is probably the size of a house. We can see the door here. Little house on top. And not the nation's capital, not even the state capital, just the City Hall. The city of gold miners, rough prospectors of the Old West. And here's their City Hall. I mean, we could have played Where Are We? 500,000 square feet. Occupies 2 city blocks. It was built in the 1880s to 1917. The present building replaced an earlier City Hall that was destroyed during the 1906 earthquake. But here they tell us the construction is 1880 to 1917. So how does that make any sense? They say it was built 2 blocks away from the present one. But I don't buy it. This baby's been sitting here for as long as they tell us San Francisco has, at least. But I think it's older than that. Even here, a lot of staining still not taking care of it. Here is the Ouray City Hall in Colorado. Look how mud-flooded this street is. Ouray is a beautiful town. I love it. Very old world. A lot of brick, as we can see here. A lot of stonework. Here's some random courthouse in Connecticut. I recently went to some kind of tomb in a park. I have a picture of Chief in front of it. And it was actually nicer than this courthouse, the tomb. But really reminding me of it. Here we see the District of Columbia, which really isn't even part of America. But this is their city building, administrative building. There we go. and just totally unimportant details for an administrative building. And here's the former municipal building, which now serves as a courthouse. So this baby has had 2 repurposements on the books. This is the second go, according to them, and we can see how they've made a new sign for it, very official, but now showing that it's a court. And this really unflattering statue of Lincoln, I don't know what they were thinking, really lacking any soul, like a statue in the old world. Even the statue in the Lincoln Memorial is 1,000 times better than this. But we see him leaning on a fasces. God, I can't imagine people watching my work don't know what the fasces is by now. But this is it. We believe it was some kind of weapon, some ass-kicking device. Hence why it's on all the coinage and statues and artwork all throughout the realm. George Washington leaning up against the fasces, like, don't mess with me, I have the fasces. Okay. And the mainstream tells us it was just like a bundle of sticks, something more symbolic. Here we are in Florida, of course. This is just totally Florida, the Florida we think of. Looks like there used to be a water feature here that's no longer functioning. Really grand. Really grand. Here, another sorry-looking statue. He does not have a fasces, unless he has a little fasces. He's probably offended. But yeah, it's kind of like a battery. Magnetic charge could be produced. Here's another Florida building. Very little information about this one. A municipal building. So municipal, like you'd go to pay your driver's license perhaps, or complain maybe about the streets. There's really nothing going on in these buildings. But 3 arched entryways. This one is pretty modest. It's really windy out. Here we're going to go to Georgia. The Georgia City Hall. Really seems like it's sinking. And I was just telling somebody about Salt Lake City, how the University of Utah campus is full of buildings like this. And they'll be like stupid designations, like the music building. I have some footage, I'm just not sure if I ever shared it. Savannah, Georgia. The Savannah City Hall. City Hall. Look at this domage. What is that? Gold? Super building here. Statues. Some babes. It's overwhelming. And this list doesn't even show Utah. So with all of this, it's still incomplete. The Salt Lake City Hall is one of the most beautiful buildings in the world. And it's not on this list. I've sent my drone up there before. You are a good boy. It's hot in here. I've been really feeding the fire. But for today, God bless. I love you all. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you next week.